Welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Calhoun's. Whether it's on the river in downtown Knoxville, the original Calhoun's at Pellissippi Parkway, Bearden Hill, Oak Ridge, Gatlinburg, Turkey Creek, at the Marina in Lenore City, Pigeon Forge, Maryville, wherever you go, it's that great Calhoun's menu. And everybody's got their favorite. The corn pudding, the spinach Maria, the barbecue, the ribs, the taste of Tennessee. That's what Calhoun's is. It's what it's been forever, and they got 9 area locations. That tells you should be at a Calhoun's sometime today, tomorrow, the next day, maybe all those days. Calhoun's, the taste of Tennessee. All right, I want to welcome in the next 2 panelists we have joining us today. Ryan Callahan, right here from GoVols247.com, and right there, David Ubben from The Athletic. Gentlemen, thank you very much. I appreciate you both being here. Want to talk about the Trey Smith story. He literally took a page from Peyton Manning's book, quoted him in his announcement that he would be returning to Tennessee for his senior year. Unlike Peyton Manning, he doesn't have Archie Manning's bankroll to fall back on if something bad happens. We all know that Trey Smith has been battling blood clots and played this year, didn't have to come out, didn't have to disappear for any length of time. They think they've got a formula for that, and that's terrific. But he also risks knee injury, shoulder injury. I mean, there is a risk in returning. He made himself a Tennessee legend forever. He said he kept a promise to his mother. So it was a family decision. I get all that. That's great. Is that the decision you would have made if you were in his shoes? Gentlemen?
No, I would have gone pro. Whenever I give my answer, and it's typically I would go pro, I say they should do what they want to and what's best in their life, and that's what Trey's decided to do, obviously. But if I were him, no, I would have taken the guaranteed money that would have come with being drafted, and we don't know where he would have gone, but then he could have gotten the contract, and then he could have made money with his next contract. And there's also, you don't know what's going to happen when you come back. Clearly, it was a decision that you're right, he and his family made, and for them, they decided coming back was the best thing for him.
Yeah, and I'll chime in just to say this. Let's get you said it. No one here is telling the guy, no, you should have done that. That decision is an individual choice and good for him. I just want to know what everyone here would do. I'm like Josh. I know that the NFL Draft Advisory Group gave him a grade that he felt I can come back and beat that. Okay, but knowing how short a career is and knowing what he's got going on anyway, I think I would have gone ahead and got my pro career going and got some money in. Ryan, David, Chuck.
I think I would have done what he did. I think knowing more about his situation, knowing that there is a chance for him to put this what we thought was a recurring health issue behind him as only maybe a one-time thing, answer any questions NFL teams have about that, and show that you can maybe practice on a more regular basis. He talked about trying to practice once on a full contact basis, or Jeremy Pruitt mentioned that being a possibility this coming season. So things like that, if they can make it happen, we'll put that more in the rearview mirror for NFL teams. And I think he just thinks he's a first or second round pick deep down. And if that's the case, he's maybe saving himself millions of dollars or giving himself a chance to earn millions of dollars by coming back if he was a mid-round guy this year.
Right. Yeah, it's sort of betting on yourself a little bit because first round talent, but a day 2 pick right now, more than likely. And I think the biggest thing that we didn't know, Chris Klink, team physician, saying that 2018 incident that basically put him on the shelf for the season was actually not a recurrence of blood clots, which I thought was really interesting. It's not anything we'd heard before. They said it was just some lung stuff that looked like it, but after they sent it to specialists and looked at a bunch of other things, they said, well, we don't think so. I think it was just natural lung changes from the initial thing, which is huge because he only had one incident of those things. So,
but I would guess the NFL is still going to.
When
they're dealing with you, they are always going to take the whatever helps them and puts you at the disadvantage.
Exactly,
so they're going to treat it like.
And spending a first-round pick on a guy that has practiced 2 times in the last calendar year, that's asking a lot. A first or second round pick, that's asking a ton. The talent is there, but when you're picking him, you're saying, well, what are we going to have to do to make this work for our franchise? And that is a difficult gambit, and that's sort of where he's at right now.
And it may be, and that's one that could go back to, let me come back, play a year, and we'll show you how well this formula that we have works. And then the pro team looks at it and says, well, they did it for 2 years at Tennessee, and this year he got more contact in. I can see that. I see both sides of it. I just
and I kind of look at it as just the opposite of Jordan Bone. Jordan Bone was pretty much over the college experience, even though I was told he was just a few hours short into getting a degree. I think Trey looked at it, and he might have wanted to go ahead and turn pro, but he did promise his mother before she passed away that he would get his degree. He's on schedule to do that in May. And he says there are all sorts of ways he can improve. I think he's betting on himself, and I think he'll turn out to where he can be a first-round pick. I think the draft grade he got was not what he wanted to hear.
Yeah, I think that's true. I mean, I've talked to a handful of NFL people throughout the season, and the word that keeps coming up is just complicated. This is one of the most complicated evaluations they've had to do. For one, because Tennessee has been very secretive about the sort of medical record situation, and once he starts going through the draft process, NFL teams are going to have all of that. But just everyone around, scouts, evaluators, all those things, they aren't sure what to make of it. And I'm sure the teams feel the same way, and that they're just not sure. The talent is obvious.
Yeah, I tell you what, there's some defensive backs in the Southeastern Conference that wish he would have turned pro.
That's true.
I'll say this too. I don't know how much this factors into it, but at the end of the day, we talked about betting on yourself. I think the other thing is Trey Smith and people around him know that he's probably going to be successful in whatever he does. So even if something happened and his football career got cut short next year, I think he's comfortable with that, knowing he loves the experience at Tennessee and he's going to be successful in almost anything he does.
Yeah, he knows there's a benefit to coming back to Tennessee.
Sure there is. I'll just say this, though. I hope Jeremy Pruitt and Jim Chaney didn't put the hard press on him. Then just personally, because if you can bet on yourself, and that's great, you control that. What you can't control is someone rolling into your leg against Vanderbilt next year.
Right.
And now you're screwed right before the NFL draft, your last game, and your knee's gone.
Well,
that's what you can't control.
Also
and if I were a coach and I lured somebody back and that happened, that would haunt me.
Well, and you also hope he can get one of those insurance policies that at least would, mitigate some of that if that does happen. If it is like a career-ending type situation.
Yeah. I think I'll say this. In my long line of watching Tennessee athletics, I don't know that I will have ever pulled for somebody as hard as I will pull for Trey Smith, because you can't talk to anyone who doesn't think he's just a terrific ambassador for the university and a good kid. And he is betting on himself. And you certainly hope that he doesn't come to regret that someday. You hope that this one all goes his way and he does make himself some extra money this year.
You mentioned with the fan base, Trey has elevated himself to historical heights with how fans will think of and remember Trey Smith.
Yeah, and you think about doing that at offensive line. That's not a position where, you don't get a lot of highlights at offensive line. Quarterbacks, running backs, you come back, that's one thing.
Yeah.
For an offensive lineman to do this and get to this level of lore, it's pretty good.
Yep.
Pretty good. All right. Other good news for the Tennessee roster, not just Trey Smith returning. There are a lot of guys coming to Tennessee right now. It's like a magnet for people in the transfer portal. We'll discuss that. We'll talk about what it might mean for next year's offensive line next on the Sports Source. Going back.